North Korea is the world's most secretive state, so it can be tough to get a clear picture of the daily lives of its 26 million citizens. The strict North Korean regime has stripped the people of their power. Nobody gets in, and nobody gets out. From concentration camps to mass surveillance, every aspect of life in North Korea is monitored, and unfavorable behavior is met with brutal punishment. Life in this authoritarian state is no picnic, and those who live there typically would prefer not to. If a person is disloyal to the North Korean government, their punishment isn't just cruel, it's utterly bizarre, which you'll see later on in this video. North Korea is officially the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, a country in East Asia. It's actually a beautiful place, with about 80% of its land area covered in snow-capped mountains and lush highlands. There's stunning waterfalls, rocky terrain, and large serene lakes. But its unmatched beauty still doesn't make up for the horror within its borders. North Korea functions as a one-party totalitarian dictatorship, meaning there is only one political party that controls everything. However, there are actually two other minor political parties, but they are forced to stand down. They exist only to make it look like it's a fair process. The ruling party is known as the Workers' Party of Korea, a communist party led by a member of the Kim family. The Kim family, known in Korea as the Mount Paektu bloodline, is a three-generation lineage of North Korean leaders. It started with the country's founder and first leader, Kim Il-sung. Then he passed his role on to his son, Kim Jong-il, and then to his grandson, Kim Jong-un, who is the current leader. Since other political parties are not actually allowed to overtake the WPK, the Kim family is likely to continue ruling for generations to come. Because of this, the nation is governed under something called Kim Il-sungism, Kim Jong-ilism. Kim Il-sungism, Kim Jong-ilism come from the ideology Joseon. Joseon, in North Korea, is a man-centered ideology in which man is the master of everything and decides everything. It's another thing that Kim Il-sung made up. But for the Kim family, man means leader, so basically everything gets decided by the leader. And they uphold this using the 10 principles. The 10 principles for the establishment of a monolithic ideological system, also known as the 10 principles of the one ideology system, is the system that tells North Korean citizens how to behave. To be specific, these principles dictate absolute loyalty and obedience to their leader. In practice, the principles serve as the supreme law of the country, and they have to be memorized by every citizen. This is so the government can ensure the absolute loyalty part. There is literally no excuse for bad behavior as these principles are memorized and regularly practiced on a daily basis, since birth. The principles include things about being endlessly loyal to the leaders, adhering to unconditional obedience, political awareness, work performance, and military involvement. Regularly practicing these principles is essential in forming the foundation of the North Korean cult of personality. A cult of personality uses various techniques, usually propaganda, to create a heroic image of a leader and encourage worshipful behavior. Advertisements in North Korea will always and only paint a pretty picture of the state and a horrific view of the outside world, and no one is allowed to believe otherwise. The government does not allow freedom of thought, opinion, expression, or information. This means that all media is strictly controlled. Accessing phones, computers, televisions, radios, or media content that is not sanctioned by the government is illegal and considered anti-socialist behavior to be severely punished. While many citizens do have cell phones these days, the content on their devices is heavily controlled, and everything they do is visible to the government. All cell phones, computers, or devices that have abilities to communicate or share information are tapped. Not only that, microphones are being used in outdoor spaces to pick up conversations, and cameras line the street corners. It doesn't stop there. The interiors of public buildings are also bugged, including elevators, hallways, and even bathrooms. Seemingly, every aspect of a person's existence in North Korea is monitored. In North Korea, some products and lifestyles are actually illegal. This ranges from haircut styles to certain product brands, like Coca-Cola and Apple, Owning a Bible is also not allowed. But there is one particular illicit product that may surprise Westerners. Sanitary pads and tampons are not available in the North Korean market. Women are expected to use old-school style reusable pads. In more recent years, feminine hygiene products have become more available on the black market. And that's not all North Korean citizens use the black market for. It is said that the North Korean black market is where people have to go to buy condoms. In North Korea, all sorts of birth control measures are banned, including pregnancy terminations. Using contraceptives can earn you big time behind bars, or in the dark pits of a concentration camp. The reason for this won't surprise you though. North Koreans are not only punished for using protection, they are also encouraged to have as many as 6 children or more. This is simply because of the country's declining birth rate. One of North Korea's major ongoing issues is the consistent malnutrition. Many of the country's citizens literally starve to death. In 2021, 41% of the population were undernourished, and many of those included young children. There are actually only 2 ways North Koreans can access food: the black markets or through government-provided rations. In North Korea, food is not in abundance and the people do not get to choose what they eat or how much they get. Aside from control, this is also because of food shortages. According to the World Food Program, North Koreans were giving a measly 400 grams daily per person in 2017, but 2 years later, that amount was lessened to 300 grams after consistent crop shortages. For reference, the UN recommends 600 grams daily per person in order to simply stay alive. To be frank, North Korea faces consistent food shortages simply because they are determined to be a nation independent from the rest of the world, even if it means their people have to starve. Being unable to trade internationally, North Korea is unable to gain access to proper agriculture supplies and other imported goods, which then hinders their ability to produce enough food. But that's not all North Koreans struggle with. For the general public, medical care in North Korea is extremely expensive and hard to come by. Most people head to the black market for medicines and treatments, which is risky in all sorts of ways. It is said that public hospitals have outdated instruments and unsafe equipment. Education in North Korea is universal and state-funded. Literacy rates are not reported to the outside world, so it's tough to determine the quality of their education. Children typically go through 1 year of kindergarten, 5 years of primary, and 6 years of secondary. After that, some attend college or university. In primary schools, morning classes are devoted to communist morality, revolutionary history, Korean language and arts with revolutionary themes, and the study of the lives of their leaders. But learning isn't all they do in school. In North Korea, children are also subjected to labor work. Schools will sometimes send children to complete short-term projects in fields or factories in return for a boost in funding. Sometimes the children are subjected to long hours in hazardous conditions, much like their parents. North Koreans are not free to choose their own jobs. The state does that for them, and they do so by determining a person's worth first. In the past, the most crucial factor was songbun, or personal background. People with good songbun, or people from good families, would be given advantages in job placement. But today, they use a system that organizes people based on something else. The work unit system, or inminben, is used to organize citizens into groups based on their loyalty to the state. Each group is assigned jobs. This categorization can affect job opportunities and earning potential, as some units may be given more lucrative assignments than others, depending on how loyal they have been over the years. Even still, the country's average wages are nothing to get excited about. The average North Korean salary is said to be relatively low by international standards, and far less than needed to cover basic living needs. It is believed that the average wages in North Korea are between 5,000 and 10,000 North Korean won per month, which translates to roughly $1 to $3 US. Some elite jobs may pay a bit more, but are hard to get. In a lot of good jobs in North Korea, the people are paid low wages but given some non-monetary benefits, such as access to food, housing, healthcare, and education. Because of the inconsistent economy, the North Korean government will decrease wages without notice. When this happens, people's official wages do not change, nor do their hours. Basically, employment contracts don't mean much. The government will pay whatever they can afford at the time, and sometimes people are required to work without pay. North Koreans are required to join the military at the age of 17. Men are universally conscripted, while women undergo selective conscription. They must serve for a minimum of 10 years, during which they are isolated from their families. The Korean People's Army is one of the largest military institutions in the world. With an active duty army consisting of 4.9% of its population, North Korea maintains the fourth largest active military force in the world behind China, India, and the United States. The KPA has about 1.28 million active soldiers and 6.3 million reserve and paramilitary troops. Approximately 1 in every 25 citizens is an enlisted soldier. But manpower isn't the only thing they have. North Korea is a nuclear-armed state, but the nature and strength of their arsenal is uncertain. As of September 2023, estimates of its size ranged between 40 and 116 assembled nuclear warheads. They also apparently have a stockpile of chemical and biological weapons, including anthrax, smallpox, and cholera. The UN has placed numerous sanctions on North Korea over the years, including prohibiting the sale of weapons to North Korea by other states. North Korea is the only country in the world that has not explicitly criminalized any form of modern slavery, but this is because they support it. The country has over 1 million people in modern slavery, equating to 10.4% of the population. That's not the only awful thing they participate in, though. North Korea has allegedly trafficked thousands of its own citizens as forced laborers to other countries where most of their earnings are pocketed by the Korean government, and sometimes they trade their people for goods. The regime has no intention of changing this tactic and sees nothing wrong with it. Citizens in North Korea are generally not permitted to leave the country at will, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. Some citizens can receive special permission to travel, though usually it is only approved for work, business, trade, or study purposes. However, this is not open to everyone, and it is not an easy process to go through. North Koreans are not allowed to travel because the regime fears it to be an escape attempt. If someone wants to leave the country, they first have to prove their intentions and basically promise to return. There is a great fear that North Koreans will discover the free world and not want to go back home. Understandably so. Average North Koreans have limited knowledge about the outside world, excluding the elites. The media with North Korea is strictly controlled and does not allow global news or radio stations. All media is pre-tuned to North Korean stations only. Because of this, they have limited ways of learning anything other than what the government wants them to know. Censorship is a form of media monopoly where the government oversees all media content in order to maintain obedience. North Korea has some of the most extreme censorship in the world, with the government able to take strict control over all communications. North Korean leaders believe that their rules and censorship system are necessary in order to keep people under control. Not only do they have limited access to devices, the content they do get is specifically made for them. Songs played on radios are based on praising communism, and TV stations are controlled by the propaganda and agitation department, and only include 4 channels with limited programs. All and any media, including print, only includes North Korean content, promoting their government as top tier. Social media has been on the rise in recent years, with several new socials entering the chat. However, none of them are allowed in North Korea. As of 2016, all social media platforms are officially banned in the country, though they were never actually allowed to begin with. North Korea also controls what their citizens wear. Certain items like jeans, flashy or brightly colored material, high heels, short skirts, and clothing with logos are all banned. Altering clothing is also a serious offense. Colors and embellishments are restricted to prevent any form of individual expression that may deviate from state-approved norms. As mentioned previously, North Koreans caught with a Bible are severely punished. This is because North Korea is an atheist state. There are no known official religions, but its constitution does state a freedom to exercise religion as long as it does not introduce foreign forces, harm the state, or harm the social order. However, what the government says and what they actually do are two different things. North Koreans are taught to hate the external world, especially the United States and South Korea, as their main enemies. In fact, Kim Min, a former North Korean movie director who escaped the regime in 1999, said, "In North Korea, when talking about America, one should always be mad." When a North Korean leaves the country for work purposes, they are not allowed to take any family members with them. Instead, those family members are left behind, sort of like hostages, and used as an incentive for the person to return. Oftentimes, people without close family members are not granted permission to leave, as there is less reason for them to come back. Even still, some people manage to break free. Defectors, or those who escape, commonly cross the China-North Korea border, but it's not easy. In recent years, North Korea has beefed up the border patrol with stricter inspections and searches. But once defectors have made it to safe land, the journey is still not over. Once a North Korean successfully makes it to the other side, they are strictly interrogated. This is basically to prove they are not spies sent by the North Korean regime, disguised as defectors. North Korean citizens are not allowed to criticize the government, be skeptical of the laws, or protest in any way. If they dare to even speak against the leadership, it is seen as a political crime for which one's entire family can be punished, and the punishments for political crimes are severe. While North Korea prefers the term labor training facilities, there are many concentration camps located in the country. They had to become a regular form of punishment in 2004, and more were built in 2007 when additional crimes were added to the list. These camps act as the North Korean prison system. Anytime a person is deemed as disloyal to the leader, they get forcibly sent to camp. And as we know, loyalty is a big deal. About 6 of these camps are for political prisoners, anyone who goes against the government in any way. This can include something as simple as a child asking, "But why?" in relation to the 10 principles. It can also include owning a Bible. Anything that goes against the government's beliefs will land you in a political prison camp, and it's quite possibly the worst thing that could happen. Most people who end up in the political camps are not given any sort of trial. They are immediately deemed as politically unreliable and not deserving of an explanation. Prisoners are beaten, starved, and forced to perform dangerous slave labor. The guards are trained to see the inmates as subhuman and dish out brutal punishments for working too slowly, speaking, or showing weakness. The worst part, though, is that you don't even have to be the wrongdoer to end up in one of these camps. In North Korea, many people are imprisoned simply for associating with someone who has done wrong in the eyes of the leaders. In fact, there is a specific camp known as Number 18 for those who are guilty by association. This is where the family and close friends of the wrongdoers go. And they take more people than you'd think. When someone speaks ill of the leader, their entire family pays the price. 3 generations to be exact. Not only brothers and sisters will be taken, so will mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, and grandparents. They wipe out the whole family, and no one is exempt. When we say the whole family pays the price, we mean it. This includes pregnant women and children. Tragically, some children are born and raised in these prison camps because their parents are imprisoned for crimes that their grandparents committed. Believe it or not, Number 18 is not even the worst camp. According to Min Chul, a former detainee of Camp Number 15, serious offenders are sent to Camp Number 25, a place you cannot exit alive. Some say it is a camp for political offenders only, others for felons, religious leaders, and members of factions. One man was apparently taken there after distributing Bibles that he got from China, a religious crime that greatly contradicts the leader's beliefs. Sadly, a lot of North Koreans perish while they're imprisoned. The general mortality rate is exceptionally high in North Korea, and this is because prisoners often die of starvation, illness, work accidents, or torture. The government also publicly and secretly executes people, especially when they suspect an attempted escape. The resort camp is where they keep senior members of the regime who have for some reason withdrawn their support, and members of the Kim family who are deemed as a threat to the dictator's rule. Here, they still have to do labor jobs, but they are given adequate amounts of food and rest. However, they are never allowed to leave. Aside from talking badly about their government, North Korean citizens have several other rules to follow. In recent years, many North Koreans have secretly outsmarted their government and found ways to discover life beyond the border. It is believed that many citizens are aware of the control tactics and have started behaving in ways that will benefit them, playing the game, so to speak. Sneaky citizens have also implemented an extensive smuggling operation that brings in various media sources, books, and items that are typically not allowed in North Korea. However, it is also widely believed that a large number of uneducated people living outside the nation's capital are still completely ignorant about the outside world. They know only what they are told, and often believe this is the only way of life for everyone. And although some progress has been made, it's hard to say what the future looks like for North Korea. If you've enjoyed these stories, don't forget to show some love by hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel. Stay tuned because we'll be back with more incredible narratives soon. Thanks for joining us today, and until next time.